Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofermento. I'll tell you what, I know I'm excited for every single episode, but I've already been geeking out before we even hit record here today alongside today's guest, because this is someone who brings such a cool solution to the marketplace. And he does it by leveraging all of his years of experience in his professional career, in his sales journey, and now, of course, as part of his own entrepreneurial journey. This is someone who is here local to me in the Tampa Bay area, and I'm excited to see all the work that he does there. But it's someone who brings new tech and new solutions to the marketplace in so many different ways. So let me tell you all about today's guest. His name is Jason Roberts. Jason is the founder and CEO of SecureConnect Solutions, which is a company that empowers businesses with personalized, hands-on digital signage. We're going to talk about digital signage here today, as well as IT consulting and cybersecurity solutions. With over 20 years of experience in sales across various industries, including his role as manager of global sales, distribution, and dealer development, Jason understands the importance of building strong, lasting relationships and providing tailored solutions to meet unique business needs. And just like everybody else who comes here on the show, he's one of us. He's a fellow entrepreneur. And not only do I love his business and what he does, but I love his entrepreneurial spirit. He's driven by his passion for elevating others, whether it's brands, businesses, or individuals. Jason believes in the power of technology to solve problems and make life easier. So if the reverse is true for you, wait till you hear Jason's approach with technology. He's a father of two. He's proud to balance his career with his commitment to family. Starting his own business would not have been possible without the unconditional support of his amazing wife, who fuels his entrepreneurial journey every day. And I think that all of that is just to say that all of our journeys are difficult in their own ways. And it's so important that we have the support, the encouragement, the uplifting of everyone around us. And that's why we're all lucky today, because Jason's going to impart so much wisdom and brilliance on us here today. So I'm not going to say anything else. Let's dive straight into my interview with Jason Roberts. All right, Jason, I am so very excited that you're here with us today. First things first, welcome to the show.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Heck yes. Obviously, you and I were geeking out off the air. I tease listeners a little bit about that, but you've got to kick the party off by first taking us beyond the bio. Who's Jason? How did you start doing all these cool things?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, and I'm not going to go all the way back to April 10th, 1983. That's a little bit too far, but as you said, I've been in sales for over 20 years in multiple industries, including the technology field, and I've always been one to tinker with technology, been into computers, networking, and in my past two roles as an employee, I was a regional sales manager for companies that source technology, and I started seeing my gaps in my knowledge in cybersecurity. And anytime you're selling any kind of technology, you need to be secure. So I went ahead and completed my CompTIA Security Plus certification back in March of last year. And when I completed the certification, I think that gave me the confidence to finally, start the journey of something I wanted to do my whole life and own my own business. As you mentioned, it wouldn't be possible without my wife. She helped me kind of take a deep dive into who I am, which is something that I never really did. And I'm assuming a lot of people are like me and don't always do that. But I encourage you to. And in doing so, I found my unique ability is really connecting with others and connecting others to others. And to take that a step further, my why was really uplifting people, as you mentioned, whether it's uplifting people, uplifting brands. And that brings me to SecureConnect Solutions. Started a company in April of 2024. Initially, with just the goal of providing IT and cybersecurity support to local businesses in the Tampa area, and it quickly evolved. And as other entrepreneurs will know, your business journey can take you down paths you didn't expect, and that brings me to the digital signage world. I was in a mall trying to prospect for some small businesses, for some IT customers, and I just was taking a seat, looking at some people watching, and I noticed there were two stores next to each other, one of which had some digital signage in the front, and the other one that just had print ads. And as people walked by, they walked right by the print ads, but stopped and looked at the digital signage. And that kind of turned a light bulb on. So I partnered with Videri, and the screens you see behind me are what I offer.
Yes, I love that overview, Jason, especially because so much of it comes back to the fact that you love being of service to others. And I would imagine that your sales background plays so much into that. It's obviously what fueled your success in sales. And now as a business owner, it's something that is so deeply embedded in the way that you operate and the way that you think and the way that you see helping others, that I'm sure that it's something that feels like it comes second nature to you at this point. And so I want to go deeper into your product line offerings, because you called it out so clearly. You know our audience very well, Jason, is that all entrepreneurs, whatever we think we set out to do with our businesses, it's going to evolve once we're in the real life marketplace. Once we're gaining customer feedback, once we're hearing people's problems and thinking of the solutions that we can bring, our service offerings evolve. Talk to us about your initial vision for what you thought you'd be doing, and then take us through. You gave us that example from the mall. Take us through what it actually looks like when you sit down with the businesses that you are really committed to helping. What do those conversations look like, and how did those solutions evolve along the way?
Yeah, sure. Great question. So my initial thought with SecureConnect Solutions, in my previous role, I noticed there was a gap, with MSPs that really don't focus on small businesses, small entrepreneurial businesses. The money's just not there for these larger MSPs. So my initial goal was just to be that local IT and cybersecurity support person, whether I was providing the cybersecurity platforms myself or recommending someone within my network that can provide a service as well. I could broker those relationships. That's where that all started. But being in sales for a very long time, I've always been used to having a physical, tangible product to sell. And Videri is a company that I came across in my prior role, and loved their platform. And their platform helps me accomplish what my why is uplifting people, uplifting brands. So I quickly, like you said, I quickly pivoted, and within about 2 months, my business took a different direction. And I'm really glad I was open-minded enough to allow that to happen organically, because I'm thrilled to be in this world of digital signage. I never thought I would be. And now when I'm talking to customers, I have the ability to provide them with the IT and cybersecurity support, but along with a platform and a product that will help increase their customer engagement. And we know that's so important in today's day and age. There's too many distractions, whether it be cell phones, TVs, you name it. There's distractions everywhere. And if you're not capturing your customers' attention while they're in your store, you're losing because your competitors are. So that the platform with Videri allows customers to do that. And it allows them to do it in a much simpler way than your standard traditional digital signage platforms. The Videri platform is purpose-built, software and hardware together, and they basically a system on a chip setup where the media player, the cloud platform, everything's built into the canvases that you see behind me, the canvases that you can hang on walls from ceilings. So there's no complicated install. There's one power cord to hide in a wall, and that's it. So not only does this allow customers to uplift their brand, elevate their brand, but it allows them to do it in almost a DIY style.
Yeah, Jason, I'll tell you what, I think it's so cool. I can obviously see you right now and see the canvas behind you, but probably 95% of people who are tuning into this episode right now are listening via audio only. And so I'm going to put a lot of pressure on you right now, Jason, in real time, because I want to stress the fact that it's not just digital signage. It is digital canvases. I wish that every single listener could see us right now, because I'm seeing it. I don't need you to explain it to me. It's so cool actually seeing it in action. But for all those audio only listeners, explain digital canvases to us. What is it? What the heck's the technology? I can't wrap my head around how there's only one wire. I don't know where the wire is behind you, and it just seems like such a really cool display. So explain what these digital canvases are to our listeners.
Sure. So these canvases, they really look like a picture frame. They're about a half an inch thick. The bevel is maybe about a half an inch as well. And they sit flush to the wall. As Brian just mentioned, there's only one cord. A traditional digital signage setup would have a TV or some type of screen, which is going to have a power cord. Then you'll need the media player, which is a separate box, which will need a power cord, and then an HDMI cable to go from the TV to the media player. And you may need some additional hardware and wires just for that one screen. With these canvases, each canvas has everything built into it. You have one power cord per canvas. So if you want it to look clean, you only have one wire to hide in a wall. And that's where mine are, Brian, so you can't see them. And then there are 5 different size screens. So there's 4 rectangles from 22 inches up to 50. There's a 33-inch and a 40-inch in between. And then there is a square unit. And one of the coolest features that this platform offers is called wireless video orchestration. So you can actually take any number of canvases and any number of different sizes and create any pattern you want on your wall, whether it's a lobby of a hotel, casino, a dentist office, you name it. Wherever you want digital signage, you can create a custom pattern, and their software will automatically orchestrate whether it's a photo, video, whatever content you're putting up on it, it will orchestrate it seamlessly across all of the canvases in your pattern. In a typical setup, you're going to need some heavy editing to accomplish that. And this system allows you to do it basically DIY. Learn it on the go.
Yeah, that's so cool. Listeners, if you've never taken the time to go to our show's website before, all of these interview videos are embedded in our website. I want you to see Jason's setup behind him, because you'll see these digital canvases in action right now. The Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur logo is up there as it's interfacing through and as it's scrolling through different very high quality videos that Jason has set up for us to see in action here today. So definitely check out the video, even if you're not accustomed to usually consuming these episodes in video format. But Jason, I've got to ask you about the who, because I've obviously been on your website and I can see so many different real life applications for this. You obviously have a lot of experience inside of dealerships, so I can see it living inside of dealerships, trade shows. I would imagine I've been on both sides of the trade shows table, and I know how much the emphasis is on how the heck do we stand out? There's literally hundreds of booths. There's hundreds of things that people are going to be walking through. We need to stand out. This is a really clear way to stand out at trade shows, conferences, conventions. Talk to us about the different styles, because you and I, off air before we hit record, we were talking about so many other use cases just local to us here in the Tampa Bay area. So who the heck are these for? A lot of business owners tuning in that probably don't even see all the cool ways that they can implement this.
Yeah, great question. And that's probably I'm going to say coolest part about this platform probably 10 more times, because it just, I love it. And there's so many different cool features about it. But being the way that these are set up, one cord, flush mount to the wall, they can really go anywhere, especially in places traditional signage can't. Traditional digital signage, with TVs and bigger screens and mounts, you're limited in the places that these can be installed. But I mean, realistically, these can go anywhere. They can be in retail stores. They can be in the lobby of dentist office or doctor's offices. They can be in dealerships for cars or boats. There are stands that are made specifically for the 33-inch model that you can have either a single-sided or a double-sided digital sign that sit in a purpose-built stand that can be, right in the middle of your showroom floor. And if you think about like a boat dealership, because I do have a lot of experience in the boating world. In fact, Videri, the manufacturer, named my company their preferred partner in boating. But if you go to a boat dealership, there's a ton of features on a boat that you cannot really pass the message along to a customer in a print ad. For example, let's say a remote docking system where you can take a remote control, walk around your boat, and steer it and dock it like you were at the helm. Well, a static picture on a sign of a guy standing on his boat at the front with something that looks like a cell phone in his hand does not do it justice. If you had one of these digital signs right next to that boat showing a video of that boat with a gentleman using that feature to dock his boat, you just sold a boat. So that right there is an example of how these can really affect your sales, can really capture the audience. And you'll see ROI in this platform in weeks instead of months or years versus traditional digital signage.
Yeah, Jason, hearing you talk about traditional digital signage, I'll tell you where my head goes. It goes straight to the kind of digital billboards that we see. Me living here in downtown of a major American city, I see these digital billboards all the time. There's a law office right around the corner from our recording studio that they have the most boring displays, Jason. It's like that pixelated old school screen that just says, need house cleaning, call, and then 813, whatever the phone number is. And so that's what I think of as the traditional one. This, I mean, I view it as something that I could bring with me when I host events. It could live there. Are these permanent installations, temporary installations? How mobile are they? I'd love to hear the logistics of that.
Great question. They're very mobile, and in fact, there's only one small U bracket for each canvas, so you can easily remove that U bracket or buy a second if you needed to have a second one to install in like a booth. But these are also so thin and I guess shaped well that they can actually fit on easels. So you could have a tabletop easel for some of these smaller ones. But they are very, very flexible. And coming from the expo world myself, I've been to so many all over the world, setting up booths, breaking them down. When you talk about traditional digital signage in that realm, you're talking about TVs. A TV is thicker, it's clunkier, it's heavier. It costs more to ship. There's more packaging to put on it. These are very easy to package. They're very easy to ship, and they're very thin. So, you can pretty much take them anywhere with you. In fact, the ones on my wall behind me, I've taken them in person multiple times. I just take them off the wall, pull the cord out of the wall and take it to wherever I need to go. But yeah, they're definitely different than traditional digital signage. Some that you might see inside of a store would be, TVs, LG, Samsung, that could be placed next to each other to create a video wall. But those types of setups are much more expensive, much more install intense, and then they take a lot of management on the back end.
Yeah, for sure. Makes sense. It's something that we've all seen in action. Once you start talking about TVs, yeah, clunky is a good word to describe that. They're also so heavy. There's no convenient way to have that as a mobile setup. So I love those insights. Jason, I want to zoom way out with you because it just seems to me like the more we talk about whether it's digital signage or technology in general, is that you have a firm belief that technology should enable businesses, whether it is getting that visual engagement, appealing to that sense of vision, saying, hey, hold on, what are these signs? What is this business that I'm seeing? Going all the way back to your example of going to the mall, whether it's that or cybersecurity or just IT solutions in general. Talk to me about the types of conversations and the types of situations that you see, because as someone who interacts with a lot of entrepreneurs every day, not everyone views technology as an enabler, Jason. A lot of people, it frustrates them. It doesn't work. There's so many issues there. Talk to me about that love for tech as the root of your approach and helping others.
Sure, that's a great question too, and really, I think, like I said, I've always had a love for tech, but when COVID hit and we were forced to take a step back and work from home, technology is what enabled that to be the case. And during that time, I spent more time with my wife and kids than probably ever before because we were home and because technology enabled me to continue to work during a pandemic and continue to make money for my family. So that experience right there really fortified my love for technology. And I totally understand where people are coming from when they say technology can make things more complicated. That is the case sometimes. But that's only the case if you don't have the right support. And that's one of the things that I provide as a service to my customers, whether they're local or my customer up in Wisconsin as well. This platform allows me to remotely monitor and support the canvases no matter where they're at in the world. And that's also a benefit to the customer because everything is cloud-based. So they can see what's playing on a screen over in India real time versus just seeing that the HDMI port is on. They can also deploy content, store content, schedule content prior, and it's all done through the cloud. So there's no need to roll trucks. There's no need to take a USB stick with your next deployment out to assign and plug it in to install it. It's all done wirelessly. So with that said, that setup makes things a lot easier for the customer. It's not as scary. In addition, with the install with these, it's very, very simple. Simple mount. and that's something we can provide as well, is installation services. But we try to take all of the quote unquote scariness away from technology, away from our customers, and show them that if it's used properly and you have the right support, it can really save you time. And that time you can use for family, you can use for reinvesting into your business, whatever you need to use that time for. But that's how I like to use technology for my customers, because that's what it did for me.
Yeah, Jason, you talk about taking all the scary aspects away from it. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, because I will out myself as I think most of us business owners, when it comes to digital signage, we don't even view it as a possibility for a lot of the reasons that we've discussed today, the logistics, the weight of it, the transportability of it, the use cases of it. But of course, the scariest part for any of us when we invest in our businesses is, of course, money and pricing. And so, Jason, I do not enjoy putting guests on the spot when it comes to pricing, because I know that there's not one size fits all solution here. It's hard for you to say, hey, this is how much money it costs to have digital signage for your business. But I would like to invite you to kind of quell those worries for a lot of business owners. What does it at least look like to start going down this path of making it a financial possibility for our businesses? Because I know that I can view a million different use cases for this in all of my businesses. I'm sure a lot of listeners are saying, Jason, it sounds really good, but it's not financially viable for me. What does that actually look like? How accessible is it for business owners of all sizes?
That's a really good question, because when I started looking at the digital signage world, I really didn't have the experience behind me to know the answer to that. So I just dove in, and in looking at video digital signage platforms in like LG, Samsung with the TV systems, they get very expensive. Not just the hardware, but then the installation on the back end, because they're more installation intense. With Videri, with this platform, again, they set it up to be a DIY install. It's 4 screws. They come with templates that are cardboard templates, the exact size of the canvas, and the screw holes are pre-printed, whether you want to go landscape or portrait. So it's very, very simple. They really make it easy for you to do. But on the flip side of that, the initial cost is something that does scare business owners away from digital signage. And I understand that. However, if you take a step back and you look at all of the money you spend every year on print ads, all of the limitations that print ads provide, meaning if you have something that changes on the fly, you have to wait for that print to come in before you can change your signs. And that's also an additional expense. With a digital signage platform like this, once the initial investment is made, that's where the savings start. If you need a new sign, or if you have a promo pop up, you're not paying a printer to print it. You're either creating it on Canva, you might have it already digital file, whatever media platform you like to use to create that type of content, and you upload it to the cloud platform, schedule it, and you're good, done. So the cost savings start adding up immediately as soon as you implement a platform like this. And then in addition to that, the increase in sales will make up for any additional costs that you haven't recovered yet. So studies have shown that traditional print ads versus digital signage can increase sales by an average of over 30%. And that's instantaneously. That doesn't take time to happen. It's instant. There's other things that you can do with digital signage. A lot of companies will have, like swag they like to sell, or gear. And one of my customers up in Wisconsin, for example, they were building out a brand new lake life experience store. They're on Lake Geneva in Wisconsin. They have 5 different businesses underneath of them, and they wanted a retail location where they could highlight all of those businesses in one place. And they strategically chose a location right across the street from the largest resort on Lake Geneva, and their storefront can be seen from the resort, from the street, and they wanted a video wall platform that could really highlight all of their features of each business that could be seen from the street. So they contacted us. We ended up going up there and installing a 6-screen video wall with, I think it was 4 50-inch screens and 2 of the square screens. So total of 6. A traditional digital signage setup like that would have cost around $40,000 to $50,000 with install. Ours was less than $18,000, and that just to kind of give you a ballpark, that was just that was installed, that was out the door. So the savings are tremendous on the initial investment as well.
Yeah, I love how ROI focused you are. And I just want to shout out the fact, Jason, that I think that comes from the fact that you are business first, technology and solution second, is that you understand we're not just throwing tech at something to throw tech at something. You're doing it for a very real reason, and having that real life case study. And just, I know how difficult it is to price projects out, especially here on a podcast being listened to by people all over the world in all different industries, all different use cases. I really appreciate that real life insight into the cost savings, because yeah, TVs are expensive. It doesn't surprise me. Anytime I walk into Best Buy, of course it's expensive to make a video wall out of those solutions. So I think it's really cool what you're doing. And I want to tack onto that, because you called out Canva as one example of a tool that we're all used to in our own businesses for our own digital design needs. But I'm sure a lot of people thinking about and really picturing the potential solutions when it comes to digital signage are wondering, Jason, what would I display on there? You've got such a cool display running behind you during the duration of you and I talking here today. But for people thinking, I don't even know what I would show, what I would display to catch the eye while also furthering my business goals, what's successful examples of content that should go on these digital displays?
Another great question, and that is something that I've actually talked to some customers that I've spoken to recently. Let's say you're a retail store that sells clothing. You could be running specials, sales on these screens, holiday specials, holiday pictures and things to make it feel more festive. Those are all things that without traditional or without digital signage, you'd have to have printed, you'd have to have then hung, then you're taking them down. And where are they are you going to store them? Are you throwing them away? Are you saving them for next year? With digital signage, you don't have to worry about that. When you're done with the content, just don't display it. Display something else. You can have that done automatically by scheduling it as well. My customer, for example, up in Wisconsin, one of the businesses they have is a restaurant. So within the restaurant, they can actually have on one of their screens pop up with a QR code that takes their guests while they're waiting in the lobby to their retail store that sells their swag. Well, if they didn't have that digital sign with that QR code that popped up, they'd be missing out on sales for their hats and t-shirts. So it really is an endless number of things you could put on here. But anything that's dynamic and is engaging is going to capture your customer's interest. You can even talk to some of the manufacturers out there that you work with, that you sell products for. A lot of them are willing to help their partners by providing digital content that could then be displayed on here. So it's not even something you'd have to create. And that right there opens up another avenue for you to strengthen your relationship with these partners you work with. And then to take it a step further, if you don't have the ability or the want to create your own content, that is also a service we can provide as well.
Yeah, I love that, Jason. You truly have thought of so many different angles, and I would imagine that it comes from the fact that you intimately talk to the people that you're committed to serving, whether they're existing clients or prospective clients or just business owners that you love serving. I think that that's so important. Hearing you talk about that, I would say that one way that most businesses are slow to adapt is for seasonality. I can think around Christmas time. We all know, okay, after Thanksgiving, we need to get all of our Christmas decorations up. It changes our signage. It changes a lot of those things, so we understand it there. But throughout the year, how often are things changing? Not very much, because to your point, you have to print new things, you have to buy decorations if that's part of your storefront display. But with a digital display, you can whip something up in a couple of hours and within one day and have it live. And I think that that's so cool. And the fact that you keep talking about scheduling, Jason, I think that's really powerful, is you can actually strategize far in advance so that these things happen without you thinking about it, because there's a million other things to think about. So with all of that in mind, Jason, I do want to, as we wrap up, time's flying by because we could geek out about these solutions all day long, but I do want to ask you about that entrepreneurial transition, coming from the world of sales, working so intimately with clients and with businesses that you've worked for and with for so long in your career. What's the entrepreneurial transition been like? You mentioned, huge shout out to your wife for being so supportive. You're also a proud dad. And so with all of those things in mind, what's that entrepreneurial transition been like for you?
It has been, I'd like to call it the coolest roller coaster ride I've ever been on. And every entrepreneur out there listening, or even people listening now that are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs, just know you're going to have ups and downs, just like everyday life. But surrounding yourself with the proper support system, even maybe getting a business coach, which I had as well. But surrounding yourself with the proper support system and reminding yourself every day that as long as you're getting 1% better, you're good. There's no such thing as failure as long as you're learning from everything that you're doing. And that goes back to my wife. I didn't think that way before I met her. And she's been a blessing in disguise. But without her and her support, it would have been a tough road because I'm my own biggest critic. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there listening that are just like me. Give yourself some leeway, cut yourself some slack, enjoy the ride, and be as flexible as possible because you never know where it will take you.
Yeah, Jason, dropping those real life entrepreneurial nuggets on us from your own experience. That's why I'm so appreciative. I always stress it to listeners is that you are one of us. You are a fellow entrepreneur. So there's only one more way that I'm going to put you on the spot here today. And that is the question that I ask at the end of every episode. And you've given us so much different advice and powerful advice, whether it's strategic, whether it's tactical, whether it's some of this mindset stuff that you're sharing with us, entrepreneur to entrepreneur. But that final question, I'm going to ask you to boil it all down to one lesson, one piece of advice that you want to impart on our listeners, knowing that we're being listened to by both entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs at all different stages of their own personal growth journeys, who hopefully have the support systems in place that you and I have both talked about here in today's episode. But what's that one piece of advice that you want to leave them with today?
I don't want to steal it from Nike, but I have to. Just do it. It's not as scary as you think.
Yes, it's true. I mean, honestly, we always call out the fact that Nike has kind of coined that term, just do it. I'm sure it's trademarked and copyrighted and all those good things. But the reason is because it is so effective. And the reason why that tagline has withstood the test of time is because it's great advice that we all need time and time again. So, Jason, it has been so much fun hearing about all the cool things that you're doing. I have the great pleasure of getting to live very locally to you, and I'm going to see these things in person. But even here during today's session, I've seen them in action behind you. I've gone on your website. So I know that listeners are going to want to see this stuff to actually further understand it and picture all of the possibilities for their own businesses. So drop those links on us. Where should listeners go from here?
Perfect. You can visit our website at SecureConnectSolutions.com. Our YouTube channel, SecureConnect Solutions LLC. I have a Videri Vibes series of different videos that I create about the features, even the project I did in Wisconsin. You can also follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn, SecureConnect Solutions LLC.
Yes, and listeners, you already know the drill. We're making it as easy as possible for you to find all of those links down below in the show notes, no matter where it is that you're tuning into today's episode. Jason's business website, SecureConnectSolutions.com. You don't have to remember it because you can click right on through from the show notes. We're also linking to Jason's personal LinkedIn. So if you want to reach out to him one-on-one and continue the conversation and talk about digital signage or IT services or cybersecurity for your unique business, then Jason is super accessible, which is why we're so grateful for him being in our network and in our community. So Jason, on behalf of myself and all the listeners worldwide, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Brian. It was a pleasure.